All right, guys, let's talk about the economy. Some things maybe you haven't heard about. Probably not. This isn't a well-known thing if you're outside of that industry. But if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you may know that I worked in the casino industry for 20 years. Most of it out in Vegas. Vegas is usually pretty much immune from any economic downturns. Not completely, but for the most part, it never really affected things out there too much. You know, the people that go out there and gamble and have fun, the economy never seemed to really bother them too much, right? So things were pretty stable, even if the rest of the country was having issues or problems or whatever. Excuse me. Now, I still know a lot of people in that industry because, 20 years in there, and I've worked in other places in the country, and, the casino industry is kind of like a small town. You kind of know everybody, I've been out of the casino industry since 2016, so almost 10 years, and I'm willing to bet that I could probably walk into any casino in this country and run into somebody I know. That's just how it works, okay? It's all like a small town. So I still talk to people that are involved in that. Now, if you're a dealer in Vegas at any casino for that matter, but let's just say a major casino, you kind of know, you got a pretty good idea of what you're going to make on a daily, weekly basis. So, a little more on the weekends, a little less on the weekdays, but it all averages out to where you got a pretty good number you can count on. So hey, I'm pay these bills, whatever. So anyway, I've got some reports from some people I know that are still in this industry of some, Reba, what are you doing? We're not going that way. Come on. Of some serious, and I mean serious, downturns in the amount of money these people are making. And I mean, okay, I'll give you one example. Something I heard from a friend of mine. If you work at the MGM Grand, okay, MGM Grand's a pretty popular casino. They usually do pretty well. On a Friday and Saturday weekend, you can pretty much count on making $350 to $400 each day on a Friday and Saturday for an 8-hour shift. So if you count on that, you're going to be safe. And most of the time, if there's a fluctuation in that, it's in your favor. In other words, there's a fluctuation, but instead of making 400 on a Saturday night, you made 600. A few deer. So I don't know if you guys can see the deer. Can you guys see the deer? Hi, guys. Anyway, so if there was any variation, it was usually in your favor. And then there was always the nights I like to call bonus nights, where instead of making $300 or $400, you made $2,000. That happens. So but you never really had to worry about it being lower than what you were expecting. It was always pretty much a certain amount. So I got a report from someone I know that worked at the MGM Grand, and a couple weeks ago, for Friday and Saturday night combined, not per night. We already talked about per night, $350 to $400. Pretty good average anyway, if you count on that. So on a Friday and Saturday combined, their tip rate, toke rate, we call it toke rate, how much they made in tips for those 2 days was $217. So what? That averages out, what, $108.50 a night. That's horrible. Okay, there's tiny little, what we call break-in houses, right? Because when you get into that industry, you need some experience, you know, 3 to 5 years, depending on how fast you pick things up, before you can go down and work at one of the big money casinos, right? So we call them break-in houses. Most of the time, little local places. You know, you could pretty much count on making over $100 a night on the weekends at those tiny little places. The MGM Grand, that's awful. You know, you're talking like a 75%, roughly, pay cut. Come on, Reva. So, I mean, if you're counting on paying bills and you see that, you know, you're crapping your pants. You're like, uh-oh, that's not good. So, then I think that's a pretty good indicator of how bad the economy is, because, like I said, Vegas usually isn't affected that much by the economy. You know, even in 2008, yeah, things dropped off a little bit, but not that much, you know. Not enough that it really caused any problems. But, you know, 60 to 75% decrease in tip rates out there, that's bad. I mean, that's catastrophically bad. If you're planning on paying your rent or your mortgage or anything like that, your eyes got big and your jaw dropped, and yeah, you're in panic mode. So that's not good. I think that's a really good indicator of how bad things actually are. And this is something most people don't hear about, because unless you've got some kind of ties to that industry, you just never hear about things like that. I just happen to have ties to that industry from, you know, all my years of doing that. And yeah, just something to kind of let you know how bad things actually are. Because when Vegas starts to feel it like that, it's bad. Honestly, in my lifetime, I've never seen Vegas feel any kind of economic downturn like that. The only thing I remember out there was, you know, when the housing market crashed, some of the people flipping houses took a hit, but that had nothing to do with, you know, as far as the casinos and stuff went, that didn't have anything to do with that. It didn't hurt anything, right? If you were flipping houses, you were in trouble, but if you had a bunch of them. So yeah, that's a really bad sign. I mean, really bad. You start getting places that are usually insulated from the economy, industries and stuff like that, that are taking that kind of hit. Whew, man, we're in trouble. So, just little information that you may not hear. Probably didn't hear anywhere else. Maybe, but probably not. So, anyway, have a good day, guys. Keep prepping. Keep your head on a swivel. Don't wait for SHTF, because it ain't waiting for you. And we'll see y'all on the next time. Have a good day, guys.